And we're finally back. I know our fans have been desperately waiting for our return, and it's been what, like 2, 3 months, 4 months even. In the meantime, Anitej has added a member to his family, but unfortunately, he isn't here today. But we're still joined by two, and now our like locations have changed a little bit. Bala is now in Chicago.
Hmm.
Apurv has moved all the way across the world from Mumbai back to his favorite spot, Santa Clara. He's back in the Bay Area, and I'm still stuck here in Bangalore. Haven't been able to go anywhere, but at least see you time. So we have obviously so much to catch up on. Last few months of football, obviously the Euros, we didn't do an episode, but we can obviously talk about all of that later. But we know why you're all here is for the Premier League, and this Premier League has started off exactly how we all expected it to, with 4 or 5 teams in contention. Looks to be one of the most exciting seasons in a long time, and we hope that comes to fruition. Some big games this weekend, so I think we can start off talking about this weekend. If you guys want to have any summary thoughts about what you've missed in the last couple of months, any messages to our pod compadre Anitej, who was unable to attend to his recording.
The one thing I will say is, I was thinking about this last weekend, and you brought up that good point. Is I feel like back in the, I don't know, like we'll say in like when we were in school, probably like the late 2000s, it felt like you had that true big four, the true top four, where every team might not necessarily be challenging for the title every year, but they had those marquee players. Even when Liverpool wasn't at its best, it had Gerrard, it had Torres. When Arsenal wasn't, it Van Persie. And it feels like we've somehow gotten back to that with United making some big, big signings, Chelsea adding some big, big signings. And then you have Liverpool and City, who have obviously kind of dominated English football for the past couple of years. So that's something that I'm really, really excited about, because it felt like in the past 5 years or so, even while obviously you could maybe argue the standard of football was higher, it still didn't feel like we had, that true top four, top six in terms of those world class or really, really popular players.
Yeah, and I honestly think, in terms of like, we haven't, obviously Liverpool City title race was brilliant, but it still feels like in the last like 7, 8 years, we maybe had like a couple of good title races,
Right.
and like obviously I guess Liverpool and City were involved in both of them, and you consider like close title races. Otherwise, it's like City ran away with a couple, Liverpool ratted about, and even just in terms of the quality. And I was talking to somebody about it, and we were like, "There's been so many great goals. Like last night, Townsend scored an absolute screamer, and they've been like." It just feels like the players are like eager to play for the fans because they haven't seen the fans in over 500 days.
Also very true.
So that's absolutely given the Premier League so much more life than it had towards the end of last season and the season before that as well. So I think that's something that everyone's like been really looking forward to. And I think that's a good note for us to start the episode on, was talking about the United game, and considering how, I guess, me and Wala were like mocking the fact that we're going to start with a topic that's by far been the most discussed, to the point where it's almost gotten boring, where like Sky and all of them are just absolutely like maximizing the Ronaldo content, and it's getting a little bit like there's 19 other teams in the Premier League, and there's like 400 other players to talk about. But I think one thing that really stood out to me, at least, was the atmosphere at Old Trafford. Like everybody was like raving about it. Neville said that the entire city
Yeah.
felt, and he said it's not about COVID. He's like, in 5 to 10 years, he hasn't felt the city like that, right? And I guess, honestly, to be fair to Ronaldo, like that's just what he can bring, And he was also, I guess, a little upset that there was no news about him for the first 3 months of the transfer window, so he had to.
Like if
Oh,
Messi gets transferred, let me show him what I can do.
exactly. Let me try to create some controversy, fake going to one club and then go to the other. Very, very interesting. What do you guys make of that whole saga? I think we like that was definitely like, obviously, like we can come back to Messi a little bit later, but what did you guys make of? Did you both believe at one point that he was definitely going to City, like I did?
Yeah, I definitely did. I started texting all the United fans I knew because they all were saying like Ronaldo's the best player, and suddenly they were like, "Oh, he's not that good anymore." But It was just that I don't know. It just felt I was happy at like I was extremely sad when I thought that he's going to City, but I was happy also because of how much it would hurt United fans. But when he ended up signing for United, I was like, they've been trying for the last 5, 7 years. They'll buy a
Yeah.
marquee player and they'll just buy the fans. That's what their motto has been because they've just been sucking. And finally, they've done that after like signing, I don't know, 100 players. It's like finally they've got a player in and they have bought the fans over with that signing. So, I mean, I have never seen Old Trafford like that because like I started watching football probably 2012, 2013. And since Alex Ferguson, like this has been like, it was actually like loud and electric and people were like just excited. And when he scored that first that incredible tap in, like the stadium was like actually bouncing. So it
And
was
every
good to
time we
see.
talk about that goal as United fans, it's gonna seem from further and further and further.
No, but see, most players wouldn't even be in that position, right? He has that goal scoring poacher's ability. But I mean, all things considered, I think it's the fact that I mean, I also agree in terms of thinking he went to City. I think purely down to the fact that they didn't have a striker, like they have Jesus, but Pep is more happy to play him out wide, and the fact that it was going to be 30 million. I was like, worst case scenario, they'll just try him, right? They have nothing to really lose. But it was, of course, he was always meant. But the fact that they got Varane too is really what makes this, slightly more scary, um, a scary prospect. And then you have Sancho, who seems like he's taking a little bit more time to get acclimated. But what I was also going to say is, I don't know if you guys saw what Lee Grant said, the goalie. Apparently, like,
Mm.
the
Diet,
first
none of them
whatever
did it.
No dessert.
after the game, yeah, no one went to get dessert. No one even looked at it. No one even thought about it. And then Ronaldo after the game also said, if these guys want to be champions, they have to be strong. It's all about mental fortitude and all of that. So I guess where do you truly place them in? It's obviously still so early. It's still so hard with so many teams kind of neck and neck. But you think they're definitely a challenger? Do you think it's going to be a four-way race?
I think it's going to come down to the big
I
fixtures.
was actually just gonna ask you that.
Wait, yeah, I think it's going to come down to the big fixtures, like how
Yeah,
they
no,
perform against
before Pools
each
continue,
other. So it's like I think it could be a four-way race, but again, like Liverpool's squad depth is not that much. If they get like another injury similar to Van Dijk, let's say to Salah or like Van Dijk, Robbo, something like that, I think they won't be able to compete. But like Chelsea, City, and United, they are like right there to challenge for the title.
I don't know about Robbo because we saw like the real Greek freak, the better,
Tsimikas.
yeah,
Tsimikas.
not Giannis, but actually, I mean, I think Bala's point was like, honestly speaking, and this is what I'm more curious about your guys' opinion on this, but I think Varane is a better signing in terms of like
Oh yeah.
what he can add to like when you
Yeah.
look at what the upgrade is that like it's Varane versus like Bailly and Lindelof, and like there's just already you can see the difference that Varane has made to the team, but like we were replacing like Ronaldo with, I mean, like, Cavani and Greenwood, and we already had goals in this team. So that was never really the issue. So that's what, in terms of like what Bala said, even in terms of the Lee Grant thing, I think that is kind of like the intangibles of Cristiano Ronaldo are
Right.
like
Yeah.
just what he is as a man and like just what he is as like a entity. Like the Men in Blazers, I don't know, Bala, you used to follow them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've just had like literally like I was listening to them after the Wolves game and they're like, what do you think Ronaldo is thinking when he sees like United play like how we played against Wolves? And one guy goes, I think he's happy, like he wants to see a team that's not doing that well. The other guy goes, I think when he's watching the game, he's like, if I adjust the TV just a little bit, I can see myself clearer. Like that's just who Ronaldo is, right? Like he's gonna do him like as like rival fans. Do you guys feel like United took like would you rather it would have been I think it would have been like game over if he goes to City, right? In terms of like what he adds to that team. But where do you guys think? Because I still think, in my honest estimation, I still feel like we're the third best team in the country. You know, like I think Liverpool definitely have a better 11, but like you guys mentioned, it's a long season.
Yeah.
Liverpool have a great 11, but I don't know about like they literally have no like attacking like potency off the bench, because you're bringing on like that Brazilian CDM, and I'm not talking about Fabinho. I'm talking about Firmino, who's kind of lost his like attacking flair a little bit. Right? And I've been so impressed with Jota. Like he's been really, really clinical in the last couple of games that he started. But I still see United as like third, considering how much Chelsea like have improved. You know, obviously with the signing of Lukaku. Saul looked crap in the Aston Villa game, but I think he can definitely get better as time goes on. And City obviously going to be City, and 56 players, all like 50 million players, so they're going to have, you know, enough squad depth to pick from. But yeah, where do you guys like right now, you know, are you guys like looking at United as a potential title contender, or do you
I
still
think
feel like
it comes down to the fact of like, so in terms of what you were saying, you know, it coming down to the big fixtures, I think you know, Chelsea really benefit from that, as we saw in the Liverpool game, as we've seen them play City numerous times since Tuchel took over in those big games. The way they set up, the way they play, the way they're managed, they really, you know, they've been performing in these big games, which is going to be huge. Like getting that keeping that game at 1-1 at Anfield was big, you know. And in terms of United, I guess the one thing I would say, I guess in terms of if Ronaldo had gone to City, in some senses, I almost would have preferred that, because then there's only one team that's getting stronger, while United would still be dragged further down. Rather, this way, you're getting another rival to be strengthened. But I don't know. I still think Liverpool, I think on any given day, and me and Apu were talking about this last week after watching, you know, the way Chelsea and United were playing. Like that last goal for United, Lingard's goal, like what was that? But so on any given day, I for sure will still take our team. And I think that's the one nice thing, the fact that you don't have all those new signings, is the continuity, right? These guys all know how to play with each other. So that is one advantage. But in the grand scheme of things, like who really, really knows? You still probably have to give the edge to Chelsea and City. But I still think like all four of these teams, I mean, they'll be up there. So I don't know. I think it's still too early to tell.
Yeah, I mean, Ronaldo to City, I think like Pep would have found a way to like not start him and, you know, play him
Right,
somewhere
I
else.
agree.
Where it would have been like a midfielder he would prefer than Cristiano Ronaldo at number 9, you know, in like the big games or something. So I don't know, but right now the first 11 of all these four teams, including whatever squad, I think all four can win the title. Liverpool, I would say, has the least odds in their favor, but like I would put Chelsea as favorites. It's their title to lose, just because of you know, they have strength at every single position, plus they have a backup for that. And City just don't look like, at least, I mean, they started off this way last season as well, where they were 11th in like November, and still they went on that crazy streak to win the title. So I don't know what to expect from them. But like the game they played, like, I don't know who they played last week.
Leicester.
Yeah, they played Leicester. They didn't look that great against
Yeah.
Spurs. They didn't look like they had chances, but they didn't look like, you know,
I
as if they
will
were going to
say,
beat somebody.
like, I completely agree. I was watching that Leicester game, and Leicester,
Yeah.
I don't know how they didn't score a goal, but
Yeah, it was Leicester's game to lose
but
that
you
one.
also don't have De Bruyne and Foden. You have to. That's like not one player.
Agreed.
That's two huge
Yeah.
like guys who won them the champion. Like,
But
not
De
won them
Bruyne
the
misses
Champions
like
League,
12
but
games every season.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
They kind of were used to, and even Foden
Right,
started with
but
18 games last season. So, you
yeah.
know,
if they
that was
signed
more rotation. Yeah, but
if they signed Kane, then it would have been game over.
Oh
But
yeah,
like,
if they signed
right now, I
Kane,
think Chelsea has that edge.
yeah. And I think coming back to Chelsea, I think, you know, talking about big games and all of that, I think Pala made a good point about how, like, you know, they've proven to be so pragmatic in the big games. But
yeah,
that Liverpool second half performance was some of the best, like, defending. And it's not like they parked the bus in that, like, when they got the ball,
right,
they were
yeah,
trying to expand. They got a cup. In fact, I think that Lukaku shot that Matip block was possibly the best chance of the second half. You know, Liverpool had a couple of pop shots that Mendy saved.
I would say,
but
yeah, the first 10 minutes, Liverpool actually looked pretty threatening. The first 10 minutes of the second half, but after that, they just
exactly. And that was such a sad game, because the first half of that game was just outstanding football, man, from both teams. Like, they both looked like really up for it. And like the form of Trent Alexander-Arnold, just what is that kid on, man? He's back to like, honestly, he ended last season like brilliantly, but just the way he's playing, that pass he played to Henderson. I know Henderson is not the guy you want to like the left foot
Yeah.
volley it in, but still like just
I think Gary
outstanding.
Neville might have tweeted today or yesterday that he thinks Trent's a better passer than De Bruyne.
I mean, I wouldn't like I wouldn't say it's like obvious either way, you know, because the way like and that's where I feel like we can
No,
talk
it
about the
kind of is,
Elliot.
bro.
I mean, in terms of like, yeah, in terms of the incisiveness.
Oh no, he's saying he's the best passer of the ball at right back that I've ever seen. Never mind, but still.
But even in terms of like incisiveness, I guess De Bruyne has left foot, right foot, all of that, and he can like play like passes from the center. But in terms of like those long through balls, I don't think we've honestly seen too. It's like Gerrard Scholes-esque, you know, like in terms of how good he is. But another thing, and like this was such an unfortunate thing, man. Like honestly, as a football fan, you hate seeing something happen like what happened to Elliot. But his position kind of made Trent even better because I guess he was sort of pushing out wide and allowing him to come inside. And like just, you know, like I mean, obviously, like what can you really say about that injury? But like he was looking so promising in the first couple of games. And I think the Leeds midfield that you guys started, like the Fabinho, Thiago, Elliot was honestly like perfect. It looked so potent and it looked like, you know, like the proper
So Liverpool
balance and like
looks
the
so
control and the
good.
They
defense.
look,
And
so
that too away at Ellen Road when like I didn't know this was the first game I've seen at Leeds away at Leeds home. And dude, that atmosphere is crazy. Like it felt like, you know, they're just sucking the life out of you. I was just imagining myself as a Liverpool player and playing in that kind of atmosphere. I would have like, you know, second guessed everything I'm doing. And the way Liverpool performed was unbelievable for like the full 90, how they sucked in. Like last year, although they were attacking, they could not handle counter attacks. Like everything was going through. And just because of Van Dijk and Matip being back and like the everyone just seems refreshed. Like last year
Fabinho
was
was
just
also just mopping up
Fabinho was
anything.
just mopping up every single thing.
Fabinho was like FIFA 21 Fabinho.
No, but the one point,
Unbelievable.
the one point you make, Ashwin, in terms of Elliot, which I think Klopp also likes, is the fact that typically we're playing Henderson in that, you know, right-sided midfield role, and with Henderson, like he's just going to have, obviously he whips in those crosses from the right side, but he's just going to have the tendency to stay more in the center, while because Elliot is a little bit more in the mold of like an attacking midfielder winger, he can also go on the outside. So then, you know, which way are you going with Trent? Are you going on the inside or the outside? And then he also brings that left-footed ability. So I think, Klopp was just, I don't think Klopp cared about the red card. I think after that, he's like, I don't care. Like, you could have given him 5 red cards. Like, this guy's going to come back and play in 10 games. Not that he was blaming the player, obviously, but, you know, Elliot's season was done just as he's gaining momentum and, you know, outplacing like good players. So it's really sad.
I mean, I guess he picked him over Thiago in the Chelsea game, right? And like
he started
like
3 straight games.
The way he played in the Chelsea game was like admirable, and he had a great touch and pass for that Mane goal as well in the game. Like brilliant play. But another thing I was gonna say is, what about Mohamed Salah, man? Like just like year in, year out. I think now the Mane versus Salah debate is quite
Mane just fucking sucks, bro. He's in the what? I would pick Timo Werner's finishing over Mane, bro. Like, oh my god.
You know, my boss is actually a Liverpool fan, right? And he's like, Mane has lost that little bit of pace, and that's just killed his finishing confidence, because otherwise he always had that little extra second in the box that would allow him like to have that confident finish. And now he's just like, Jota should have had like 4 assists yesterday, you know?
I mean, I don't know. Against Leeds, like he was, I couldn't like tell if he's lost his pace or he's lost his positioning, because he was getting himself in some incredible positions. But it's just that decision to finish
in the final third, his decision making, whether it's the pass, whether it's to shoot, it's just the wrong one.
If I was Salah, I would be so mad, because yesterday Salah was passing everything to him, and Mane could have like easily laid off like 3 tap-ins for Salah. It was just.
And honestly, when Salah is playing over the last few games, he's playing more as a winger, you know. Finally, he's back. Like, he's creating a lot. He's like playing a little wider. And I think, again, like, I hope Elliot's injury doesn't really change the way Liverpool are playing, because they've been so great to watch, honestly. You know, like it's been back, like you said, they all feel like freshened up and they feel back to their best. And I think we'll move on. Like, so we spoke about that Chelsea game, and as good as their defense looks, like the Villa game was like, oh, I guess they got a little lucky, but their keeper is also brilliant, man. Like Mondi has made like a couple of outstanding saves already this season, and right now on form, he looks like with the Brazilians, he's definitely like up there as one of the best keepers in the league, if not the best keeper on form. But what do you guys make of the Lukaku signing, and what have you seen
So
something different in him than everyone's
I
talking about how he's looking different? Like,
so I mean I think this stat is just absurd. So
go ahead, brother.
since Tuchel took over, Lukaku has the most goals for him at Stamford Bridge
Yeah.
in the league. That just highlights exactly what they were
Two goals.
missing.
Yeah.
Right. He's the top scorer for them in the league at Stamford Bridge, which just highlights like, and I think last year the only thing they would do is they just continuously create and miss big chances. He's played one game at home, two games at home, and he's already the top scorer for them at home in the league. So it was the final piece of the puzzle. In that 3-4-2-1 that they play for the two, it does not matter who plays Ziyech. He can play Werner, he can play Mount, he can play Pulisic. All of them get the job done. I mean, Jorginho is now like, really, really good at his position. Kovacic also had an incredible,
What an
counter press and
assist.
assist. Like, and then the wing backs, like Chilwell can't even get a game. It doesn't matter because he'll come back and do a job. You can play Reece James. You can bring on Aspi. He'll get an assist. And the center backs, somehow it seems like, on paper, those center backs would be guys you could maybe target, Trevor Chalobah, like Rudiger, like, I mean, I'm not, no insult to them, but you compare them to center backs across other teams like Varane, Maguire, Van Dijk, Matip, like Ruben Diaz, like you'd say these guys are significantly, not on that same level, but they still keep more clean sheets. And the keepers obviously, and they just have, backup for every single position. So
I think Lukaku was as big as like Kane to City, but it didn't create that much hype just because of the way Chelsea signed him, where there was no like, oh, is he going to come? Is he not? Within 4 or 5 days, it was just done. And like, I think because of that, and I don't know, like I saw the game and I saw Lukaku play after a while. I saw one of the Champions League games last year where he was like really good. But here, his movement, his hold up play, him involving other players was just incredible. Like it was seeing one of the best strikers in the world play right now. And he definitely, I think, is one of them.
And one thing I've seen in like Chelsea strikers is like Torres was a big example of this. Where like when you go in as that mentality of you have to go there to impress, it's like a little bit harder. Whereas he's coming straight as the big fish in the town, and like I think that's like an atmosphere where he thrives in, because you can see him like giving people instructions, and he's like he knows what his leadership position within that squad is. And I think coming back to Balasman of the centre backs as well, and I completely agree. Like Rudiger was on his way out. He was getting no game time again under Lampard. Like, so it's just the improvement of players under Tuchel, and definitely like they're like, even though they're on paper they're playing five defenders, they're not necessarily like a very defensive team. They're very pragmatic in that they don't necessarily go gung ho. But I definitely think if you put a gun to my head right now, I would say they are favorites, because like you guys mentioned already, City are not looking as lethal as they have in the past. And again, like they always seem to start a little slow, and they get to their like stride, towards the middle end of the season. And like Bala said, they still have some great players coming back, but I've been mightily impressed with Chelsea, because that Villa game was not a 3-0 game, like that's exactly what you said. Like Lukaku, like nobody is scoring either of those two goals for them last season. Werner will chop it onto his right, and then that second goal, Lukaku's second goal, there's nobody on the Chelsea team who can strike a ball like that, And so that's honestly something that's a good sign for Chelsea fans moving forward. And their second team, like, they literally have their second, like, front three. I'd say their first front three is obviously Havertz, Mount, Lukaku, and their second choice would be Ziyech, Pulisic, Werner. Like, that's better than, like, anything, like, outside of the top four. There's nothing of that
That's
quality,
better than
right? Like,
Arsenal's first 11, not just front three.
Should we talk
That's
about
actually
Arsenal?
a good segue, like what about Bala mentioned about the historical top four, and it's still the exact same, except one team has got replaced by Abu Dhabi. But it's not like they've been demoted to fifth. They've literally, I would say, Leicester, West Ham, Tottenham, Everton, easily better teams. You could argue that
Leeds.
Leeds,
Yeah.
Wolves.
Leeds, Wolves, who else? Throw Crystal Palace with a good
Villa.
win again. Villa definitely. Like, what the hell is going on at the Emirates, guys? Like, can we spend a couple of minutes talking about this? Like,
I think John Henry summed it up really well when they submitted that 40 million and £1 bid for Suarez, and he tweeted out, "What are they smoking over there at the Emirates?" Imagine an owner actually tweeting something like that. But I really don't know. Like, so this is something Ashwin and I were talking about before we started recording. But the fact that you have your director of football, and this is not any information that I have, but I'm assuming, your director of football goes on Sky Sports and starts talking about the transfers and defending the transfers. It seems like a real, desperation move. But their transfer business is still somewhat doesn't really make sense to me. You have the whole Martinez thing where they probably shouldn't have sold him to Villa. You have burned Leno, then you go and sign another good backup goalie for what reason when you clearly have glaring errors all over the squad. And then outside of that, I mean, it just doesn't look like they just look like a broken squad. And I do not know if they need a managerial change, if it's just they just need to realize where they are and play according. I don't know.
I was talking to my brother and he was telling me that this is just Arteta's second full season, like he's had only one season before this. And for some reason, I just thought that he's had a while. So, but
it's
like,
actually good.
yeah, but with with Solskjaer also, like they had that run of like that 6-7 games where they just absolutely killed it. They beat PSG. And with Klopp, when he first came in, like made the Euros final. And I guess with Arteta, they did win the FA Cup. But the team doesn't seem like, that they're going anywhere from here. It just seems like the performances are bad. They're relying on Saka and Smith Rowe for all their chances, for everything. They create that spark. They get the fans like excited. So it's not like that whole 11 is working together. But now I feel like because Arsenal has made so many signings, and I hope they're signings that Arteta has approved or whatever. So it feels like, now they won't have, like now there's no excuse for Arteta not to at least finish in the top 6 and like, make the performances seem like that gets their fans excited for the next season to come. And slowly there's progression where they finish top 4, where they challenge for the title and maybe win the title in the next 3-4 years. But it just doesn't seem like that with this club, especially spending the most money in the transfer window and not
right
even
now
having,
if I gave you 5-1
one
odds
signing.
that they finish in the top 6, would you take it?
Yeah, 5-1.
You think so?
I'll
You think
take
that
it.
they're going to finish above Spurs and Leicester?
I'll take it on camera.
Are you taking it just because of the odds, or you think there's actually a chance?
No, because of the odds. But like, no, I don't think so. Like Leicester and Spurs both will. I think Leicester, like, if there weren't so many big signings, and if United, City, Chelsea, and the season continued as it was last year, I think Leicester would have finished top 4 this year. But obviously not with the
Leicester
signing.
have had some really, really bad luck with injuries over the last 2 years. Any single time they seem to get any steam, they just have a major like guys out for like 8 months.
Ashwin, what's your take on Arsenal? Do you see them progressing with the signings they've made?
Literally, I was talking to Harish about this, and and maybe you guys can chime in on this later. I don't know, is it the manager? Is it the players? Like, I think it's like a chicken and egg conundrum. Like, what's worse? Like, is the problem Arteta? Is the problem? Because like me and Bala, this is what we're talking about. We're like, why would you go and sign a backup keeper when you already have one of the better keepers in the league, right? Like, it's not like Leno was like if honestly United should have possibly signed a keeper ahead of Arsenal. Like, there were far more teams that needed players in positions that, and even in terms of like Odegaard on paper, great signing, like literally 10 million plus what they sold Willock for, all of that. You can argue about the finances, but you're literally like, Smith Rowe is possibly their best player last season, right? Like Smith Rowe and Saka, without a doubt, were like the most exciting, most like sort of, and now you sign a player like Odegaard, and again, like it's not anything to do with Odegaard and Ramsey. Like, these are two great players, but it's like, does this squad really need those type of like half players who don't necessarily come in and up the squad's quality. Like you guys made a good point about Leicester, right? Like Bala said, like if everything ended last season and it began the same way this season, Leicester had been in a great position. But all the other teams have gone out and signed players who directly come into the starting 11, like Sancho,
Yeah.
Varane, Lukaku, like obviously Liverpool getting Van Dijk back. Like these are players who come into the 11 and make it better. Whereas Arsenal's players have seemed to be like I get the long-term philosophy and all of that, but is Arteta gonna be there? 2 years, 3 years down the line to like see Lokanga be his best, see Tavares be his best, and like Lokanga's been decent to be fair to him, but I don't know, man. Like I am just like very, very concerned because I think Arsenal are such an important establishment in football. Like the Premier League is better when Arsenal are good, and I don't know like if they'll be good the way we sort of expect them to be like I don't see it for like another 2-3 years even. Like Anitej was saying that, oh, without Europa, without Conference League, we're gonna like challenge for top four. But how far is this team right now from challenging for like Champions League? Like I don't even see that. Apur is taking 5-1 to finish top 10. I wouldn't take 5-1 to finish top 10. Like he didn't take it for top 6. I'm not sure they'll finish in the top 10, to be completely honest with you.
I don't know if I would take
the Norwich
5-1
game
for top 6. I really don't think I would. That just seems like you're giving away
my No, because like Norwich at home is the easiest game in the Premier League. They didn't play Gilmore, they didn't play any of their good players, and they still just about like hit double doink on the line. That's the type of goal they score. Like it's ridiculous, man. Like it's honestly like quite sad to see, but I just hope for the sake of Arsenal fans that there is an uptick in their fortune and things start to work a little bit better for them moving forward. But I just don't see like where that spark is going to come from, because it seems like, and also like a lot of stuff, and I don't know, I'm sure you guys have read a little bit about this, but the rumblings behind the scenes about Arteta's like attitude and how he like sort of is very confrontational with the players, and he's not necessarily like the most like communicative, and like I don't know about that. Obviously, like Lacazette and Aubameyang seem to be like two of the main problems in that, but he brought Aubameyang straight back into the squad, so it all could be like sun bullshit. But still, I just don't see like harmony in that dressing room the way it needs to be for a team to have a successful season. So
I mean, if you think about it, they've signed like a 70 million midfielder. They have
I don't know where's
million...
Thomas. Where's Thomas Partey? I've seen him play like 3 times. I do not understand.
They had like 70 million players like at the strike force, at the right wing, and the central midfield, and now their defender is like so expensive. So I don't know like what the recruitment also is like. Maybe it's not the manager or the players, it's just the whole Arsenal management. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. I think in terms of like the fundamentals of that club need to change, but in terms of a club that will move completely out of the Premier League, I think this is like to end it off. I think we should talk about the dirty Saudis and how they've sort of taken over football. What do you think, Apurva? Were you just as big a Messi fan as you are? Like obviously great summer for the lad with like the Copa America win and all of that, but what do you make of, like, we'll just quickly end it off with like a couple of minutes about the Champions League, and do you think Chelsea walk to the title?
As much as I wanted Messi to win another Champions League and whatever, I hope PSG lose to Porto in the round of 16 and like Neymar doesn't play because of his sister's birthday, and Messi just bottles it, and Mbappe just goes to Madrid in Jan, because I just hate it, dude. Like what? Like how can you build? This is like playing draft with you guys, man. And even then, I don't think I'll get a team as good as this PSG.
Exactly.
Level.
This is career mode. This is career mode.
This is Ehsan playing career mode. Yeah. So it's just that, I don't know. And I absolutely don't. I'll be happy if he wins the Champions League, and like if Neymar and Mbappe both are injured and he still takes them to the Champions League title. But like, no, dude, like I wouldn't want.
Under no other circumstance will you support them. Right?
Yeah.
Also, talking about a club that's worse run than Arsenal might be Barcelona.
Yeah.
God, like the whole Griezmann thing. How much money did they do? They spent 120 million on him 2 years ago for all of.
Today they are playing Bayern. I think Lewandowski is going to score 8, like just today. And I don't know, like if you saw Muller, like he was saying
alone he's gonna score 8.
I don't know, it's just they are screwed. But again, like I don't like. Did you all see the whole Gary Neville versus
Messi
Carragher
versus
thing debate? Yeah, like Neville was just pissing me off. I don't know why, but I really at those times I really think like, do I have a bias for Messi or like something against Ronaldo? I don't know, but like it just he his points were so stupid, and then someone just tweeted out like Messi scored 4 less goals in his club career with like 156 games lesser than Ronaldo. So like, what's your debate on he's a better goal scorer? And then Carragher was trying to explain if he scores it with his left foot or with his shoulder, doesn't matter. Like
Yeah,
it's in
exactly.
the
Yeah,
end
I
in the
don't.
goal, right? And then Neville's like he can head it, he can score with his weak foot. Like, bro, they've scored like the same amount of goals. And then Carragher said that Messi scored like double the amounts of goals than Ronaldo coming off the bench. So who would you want, like in a
Yeah,
sport where you
honestly,
need to win the game? So it's just I don't know.
I thought the way they framed that question was a little dumb of like coming off the bench. Like I don't
Yeah,
care
they
Yeah, that
like
don't
was.
coming
come
off
off
the
the
bench.
They
bench.
don't come
You know
off
who
the
I take
bench.
ahead of both of them? I take Hernandez, Chicharito, bro. That's I mean, like guy coming off the bench. Like, well, honestly, like to be completely honest, like I think the whole argument is a waste of time, man. Like it's honestly like
Yeah.
Ronaldo fans keep using like stats. Like if you watch football, you know who's better.
Okay, Ashwin, are
Like
PSG
let's
favorites for
just
you or
be
no?
honest. Like there's this like one. I think they have to be, back possibly in the world. I mean, the best like overall right back, I'd say, the best keeper. Like, what did he do in that Euro finals, man? Like taking a penalty against him, he's like a 6 foot tall building, Like, what are you gonna do?
And they got
He's just
Hakimi,
a
like,
joke of
And
a
they
player.
got
That's what I was
Ramos.
talking about. Hakimi. And Ramos, like
Ramos.
literally Ramos,
and
like
Genie, bro.
Wijnaldum. What about
Genie, bro,
Jeans, bro?
actually, the amount of consistency he's going to add in that midfield is crazy. Like, I miss
They're
that
just like
guy,
a
man.
broken team. And honestly, like Apur's like frustration with PSG, I finally felt that, like what's the point of seeing these guys play in Europe's sixth best league? No more fifth best
Oh,
league,
yeah,
right?
they're out
Like,
of the top
but if
five.
you yeah, exactly. So if you had to put early favorites though, I think Chelsea have a good shot again, but
Chelsea's
I would
also.
still I'd say PSG, Bayern for me would be the two in the Champions League, like
I would
considering
say, I would say Man City, unless like that fucks it up again.
unless that is Gundogan CDM again in the final. But
I still cannot believe he somehow did not win it last year.
Okay, anyways, can we wrap it up? I really need to go.
anyway,
Yeah.
with that, I think we come to the end of our first episode of the season, and we hope you guys enjoyed. We will definitely be back on a much more regular basis now. So
Yeah, even if it's just two of us, like we'll definitely try for three, but like actually we will be semi-consistent at
Wait, who are you
least.
guys talking to? No one stayed so this long.
See you, Shane.
see you, see you, see you guys.